Rumors that they are transgender. This was a bit of a weird download, but I'm sharing it. In the UK government, something comes out about someone's sexuality or maybe swinging, you know. In terms of Mark Carney, I believe there's Mark Carney and someone else for Canada. And I don't know where this sits because, again, this is the end of March, but I feel like there's been some instances where someone is playing as Mark Carney, and I wonder if it comes out. If it doesn't, Mark Carney is also a bit dangerous. Like, he would have been close to the groups of like Epi, there's something shady there, okay? But there's some protection for Canada from him, and I don't know if he's the winning party that Canada actually wants. Okay, so that's that. Now with JFK, I want you to think of something. Who will be providing the files around that? I presume it's the CIA. So do you really think that you're going to get the absolute full truth, or anything that's really wow new that you wouldn't have thought of? Think about that, because I was thinking about it. I was like, why is everyone so excited? Do you really think that? We're going to have to watch that. He did pass away or die on the 22nd of November 1963, Dallas, Texas. Okay. Because this was a question I had. Let's get more cards. There is some kind of smugness, all right, shadiness on when it happened, someone wanting to announce it really fast. There's some smugness on how fast they wanted to announce something. I mentioned about Australia and a cyclone, and I was told March the 10th there was one, but I'm asked to, was it man-made or natural? March 10th. Hang on, I didn't ask what I want. From the cards I just saw, the Two of Swords and whatever that was, it seems like there's something hidden. Something was changed about it. But let's see. Told to take this card, like, so hard, this card. Okay, so it was natural, but something was changed about it, and I feel like the direction where it hits and the speed was changed. I don't know what this is about. Astronauts, something about astronauts, and because there was astronauts stuck in space, weren't there, or something, that woman, and then that was a load of BS, you know, it was a load of Showtime and BS, but I didn't look into it, but that's what I got from Spirit. It was just like for show. And that there was also possibly some CIA or DS around a big conference, I would think in the US, given I say CIA, this conference would have been from mid-March until I'd say the end, anytime they've had a big conference. I don't know what this is. May, October, I think, may show us how insular America is really becoming. I think we've got signs of that, but something may snap, all right, which means less countries will see America as the top of the lead. I think I mentioned this in the last Psychic Predictions, but no country can really replace America. So will America continue to go this way, or change to remain America as we all know? I think that's something that we need to watch. More attempts of assassin. And I think I'm shocked that the first 2 weeks of April there wasn't anything, not according to what I know. But I would say Duck and Robert Kennedy need to be careful, you know. And also I think June, July, they need to be careful. April into May, beginning of May. June, July, there's going to be violence and blow up triggers around the world, and also in the US need to be careful. I think May time, you know, there might be sort of war-ish energy around Russia, but it's all pointless. It's not going to come out of anything, which might trigger a bit of a European escalation. And I feel like Putin double taps something, like a double hit, there's a double tap on Ukraine. And there might have been, or there might come out, this is now downloaded to me 25th of March, that he might have been involved in Heathrow Airport's fire. So I don't know if that's come out in the news. In May, I do think there's going to be some shaky blow up energy in Europe, and it's not just Ukraine. Now, I've done Nato, I've mentioned Turkey, so we need to be careful around that. I don't know what, oh, this is the royal reading that I did, I think. Okay, so that's that royal reading. Let's continue. So April is a bit more tense, okay? And in the US, the theme is kind of decentralization, which then escalates onwards, okay? There's kind of this warrior energy of Ukraine, Russia, China, Taiwan, and the US. But the systems of the countries, or how they our alliances, lacks integrity, okay? And we will see this and we will feel betrayed. But also, there's going to be this feeling of guilt of becoming weak. That we feel weak from our systems, controlled by our governments, but we feel betrayed at the same time. This is UK as well, right? And we need to come back to ourselves, to people, to community. Remember, I started this video off, I said it will all tie in on how I see the world moving, and how you will understand how we might be moving. And through these videos, we'll understand it as we get the downloads. So until we come back to ourselves and feel we have the power, the souls within us, we're going to be overloaded with thinking. Some of us are going to be overloaded. Some of us are going to start to know that, you know, there's a piece in me, and try to disconnect from these systems that lack integrity, whatever we're dealing with. Even the benefit structure in the UK, there's the amount of people that get away with crap, and there's the amount of people that are very innocent and don't even get on the benefit. So and this is for Europe as well, and it's in most of the regions. I'm not sure if it's so much. Yeah, I'll leave that out. Okay, so it's kind of like how can we go back to basics as a human? So can you see it all eroding away? We go back to basics of being a human, just on the simple terms, like looking out for yourself and looking out for like your neighbor and community, and nothing higher up or beyond that because of where you want to be or your profit, etc. Trying to disconnect of the overload of thinking, the information, the communication, the zapping that we have all around us at this moment in time. It's like a birth of coming to yourself, not in a way of seeking recognition or a title or being seen. I mean, as humans, we do like to be seen. We do like that thank you. But we're not going to be seeking that wowee recognition. It's more like, how can we look after ourselves, make sure we've got food, back to basics of our power from a society what taken or demoralized many of us. All right, if you notice, some of us, and I can certainly agree, as we've got older, it's kind of like, oh, I just can't make that phone call, you know, to do this, because I know there's just going to be like arguing for my right? And so we feel demoralized, we feel betrayed, we feel society's taken from our fire, taken from our confidence. Over the past few years, we have been working on the wounded masculine. And I do want to say that social media and in general, we will see masculine men with more food disorders, more OCD, etc., because they now, not only the women, are seeing the perfection of males on social media, the perfect life, the perfect husband, whereas females, we've always kind of had that for many years. We're going to see that more in men. And if you're a man and you're feeling this more now, or you have been affected, let me know in the comments, okay? But it's been healing for the past 7 years, and snippets of it will show in this next year. But in the following year, 2026, like healing of the ego of men, masculine, wounded energy acting out. Because this year there's that increase in conflicts, a leak of the war plans, for example, pull back assistance on certain countries. This is all wounded masculine that is currently needing to be healed. We're realizing a sense of disempowerment. So also find through, whether it's on this channel, wherever it is, like-minded people connection, and it could be even online, right? You can connect online. There's no more idolized relationships. Those are ending. And you also see it ending in celebrities, the well-known, the famous, even on an individual level, where you've idolized relationships. I think there's going to be someone who resigns over a signal leak, a security breach, a commercial app. Oh, actually, this is apparently there was a security leak. So someone, I feel, will resign over that, because it was a commercial app about an attack on Yemen, right? 2 hours before it actually occurred, apparently. Someone will take the fall guy, and there'll be a reform to take the forms from someone who resigns. And it might have been in cover of someone who was named in that chat. Okay, so that's what I was getting on that. I don't really know the story behind it, apart from there was that leakage. There's anger against Duck and their admin, and I think this is because Duck has been a bit hands-off, so his admin's taking lead, and maybe are they the right admin? I do think there's going to be a financial security system breach that's going to be upcoming. Yes. Oh, yes, 100%. Yeah, so there will be a financial system security breach. So that is what I was getting downloaded. So because this breach will come through, whoever resigns because of what happened with the security breach around Yemen or whatever, it's not going to help overturn what was done, because this new breach comes forward, and I think it's financial coming out, or another breach. Duck currently he's got heads rolling, hasn't he? He seems to not be taking a day off. But there's the end of something. There's a fog lifting on something, and people will be feeling a fog is lifted, and some people will be changing their mind around certain things. The economy, there is a bit of a struggle, and obviously the tariffs. There's a crossroads here, and this crossroads, we can't see it yet though, so we need to see what comes of that. All right, so that's something I was getting, and maybe you can let me know. Now this download is actually for our Woo Woo edition, UK and Keir Starmer. Please do refer to your community and not large corporations for the tariffs, the trade wars at this moment in time. The truth of the world we're in now is different. It's going to be different. And he's taking a stand, and countries are not realizing what and how they can rely on their own country too. The trade war is not just going to simply disappear, okay? I feel like the rich are grabbing the last seats while they can as the world is changing, and they are feeling worried because they feel that change. They're feeling the power going to the average human, and then the average human will be looking out for the minorities, the less privileged. So I feel when I tap into the rich, they're a bit worried, and they're not sure of themselves either, because they're just trying to grab what they can, feeling the world is changing. And if they're not, they're so spiritually disconnected that that's not good either. I do feel like DT is making some decisions from a weakened state, okay? He just wants the change, and so he's on kind of like a rampage because he's fed up of what was being done, right? But this could cause an erratic energy, and the erratic behavior may end up showing us in time, yes, like thank God that happened, because we stepped out of a lot of things like fear-mongering, corporations, letting go of a lot of everything that, just was actually chaining us that we didn't realize, in order to go forward and get rid of the old way. So that's where I say he has a role to play at this moment in time. The trade wars, countries seeing boundaries, putting up boundaries, really thinking, where can they buy from? Can you get the same from your own country? And can you get the same from your own community? I also have here at the end of March, now we're the 27th, so at the end of the March, going into April, military planes of any, so if you've seen recent, I don't know if you've seen any recent military plane activity last week of March, I'd say end of March, and I feel more people are on this, and more people are coming together, connecting to what they hear and told and see. And definitely slowly but surely, people are saying the right things but are not taking action. And these people that I'm talking about are the leaders. the system holders. We're seeing that they're saying the right things, but they're not doing the action. And we've been just quiet, listening, but we're not been assessing the action. And now we're realizing that. And we are looking at leaders to really align with their actions. And where they're not, people are angered. Okay. And then when people are angered, you know, we get the protests, etc. I had a question about Bill Gates. Okay. I do think that people are not going to see him so much as a hero, and I think there's going to be some dirt coming out on him. Another question was on Pierre and Carney. And I felt like Carney was sort of stood at a distance, trying to make sort of decisions, waving a wand, wishy-washy energy. And I could see like Pierre, and I see them as the names, because I don't know what they look like. And Pierre seems to be playing out and making more strides, whether it's in the background or not, I'm not sure. So this is for Canada. Yeah, so look, this is Pia making the communication, making the strides, not making it such a heavy burden and not moving forward, putting down any burdens he's got, making those strides, moving forward, playing it out, communicating maybe. And this is Carney. Carney has these cards. And I mentioned some of his energy. I don't really know if this is already something. I don't know if you're Canadian, let me know about these two. Are they like, is this lining up with the personalities you're seeing, or are we going to have to see this plan out? When is your election, by the way? It's, you know, there might be something that plays out to pause the elections. And it could be something that we won't know. It'll be like a false flag. Whether Carney wins or not, but he might not stay long. You know, if he does win, he might not stay long. There might be an abrupt exit that we don't hear about. What is the date of the Canadian elections? I don't feel it's passed, but again, this was end of March for April onwards. So I think we're still there. Whatever right now, don't take things personally. So keep a cool, a lot of tension. We're being tested. There's, you know, also anger of the ancestors here. And there's feelings coming up within you that you could be feeling and not also knowing how to navigate. There's going to be a lot more, I've mentioned this before, in terms of air traffic. There's going to be new ways of distance travel and new travel forms coming up over the next few years, up to decade. I mentioned this in our themes, and I remind you of this. We are purging at the moment. You can say that word, okay? We're purging at the moment. In May, Europe might decide to say some stuff about the US elections of 2024. So this will cause something, obviously, and we'll have to watch that out. I do think that there's shipping threats from China to Taiwan. We need to look at that. I do see the taxes ahead in the UK. People are fed up, you know, fed up of the government, fed up of his team. In Germany, what was interesting is I saw that the car industry will be hit by the tariffs of Duck, but I see that they will be adapting in a different way. They're going to be resilient. And there's going to be sort of like some new transportation readaptation in Europe and across Europe from Germany. I think there will be some, in France, some vocal coming out about the far right. Let's just check this is recording. Yes, we still are, so that's good. Okay. JFK, more coming out, but again, still a holding back. And I posed the question that I mentioned to you. Baron Trump, watch him, and in the future, I think there's going to be something coming out that includes George Bush. All right, so look out for that. And definitely, whenever he decides to exit this life, there will be more coming out about him. I've got Italy down. I've got Greenland, which I was supposed to look up because I kept seeing things coming up about Greenland. I don't know what's happening there. It seems like there's a fight over it, but I don't know where Greenland is. Sorry, I'll check. But it's all for actual resources. And whatever the fight is the actual fight is for the resources that it has. It has a wealth of rich resources, and it is also a good military base. So I was supposed to look this up because I've got no idea where it is. I think it's US, maybe Canada, or it's a little island. It belongs to the US, I think. April, chaos with NATO, I mentioned, New World Order. So there might be some new issues. I do see there's going to be some religious upheaval, scandal coming up. The economy, turbulence, stocks. I mentioned and predicted, and that's happened. I predicted there won't be a proper ceasefire in Gaza and Israel, and that's happened. Iran, I said, is going to come up, and it will come up, and I do think there will be an Iran-US clash. There will be a clash, a limited clash. I don't like to say war. Okay, there's going to be a clash there. And I think Israel, there's going to be some religious sentiments of war-based also brewing. In terms of Russia, I think there's a spike and not a closure of ceasefire. And 2026, we need to be careful because stocks are going to be affected. NATO, I believe military deployments are going to be happening now onwards. USA, the homeland and homeland security I mentioned before, there's something happening there, and there's going to be more challenges and tightness there from the government and the stock market. There's something happening around that. Again, water tsunamis, water heavy rain, water related diseases, 2025 water related poison. I've said about poison last year for this year. Turkey, I just want to pull cards on Turkey because I said they will play a major theme on NATO. My cards are a bit sporadic. Yeah, okay, so we keep getting this, don't we, right? Okay, so Turkey, and this is a bit of a challenge. I think Turkey is going to put pressure, there's going to be pressure on the government, the Turkish government, okay? I think if Iran and US kick off, then Turkey may align not with the US because I think it's maybe Iran stands with like Yemen or a more underprivileged country. And if Turkey doesn't stand in honor with NATO's decision or with Iran, it could then pose an issue on NATO because others will be with the US, and then Turkey splits because of the likes of, for example, you know, Yemen having some protection. I'm going to end this here, and I'm going to do another one because I've got quite a bit here. I do think that Trump's tariff is going to affect Scotland, especially in the whiskey alcohol trade. I do see that came in, and I think Korea is about to pop its head with weapon or military testing, something around Korea. Do look out for contaminated water. I do see also like a temple burning. But I'm going to stop here and I'm going to do this rest later. I do want to say in terms of weather, just very quickly, okay. Let's do this one. So weather, Nebraska, is it Arkansas, Missouri, Oklahoma. I think there's some tornado activity. India, Africa, New Jersey, New York, I think water. We could see flooding in Haiti, Mexico, that area. I think Dominican Republic might be included. Australia, sort of storms, cyclones, flooding. And this is where I was getting snow, so be careful in a couple of states. Australia, New Zealand, I got before like an earthquake that was in the water. And I think there was one in Australia, New Zealand. Pacific earthquake, ring of fire, Indonesia, Japan, Philippines, crossing the west coast, Cali, San Fran, Alaska, rumbles from that. A weather turbulence. We did have earthquake in the Pacific when I predicted it, and I said it would be from water within the water. But definitely shaking, a rumbling being felt. Nothing disastrous, US side. Turkey, I think there's something there that could happen, earth rumbling. There is still that risk of wildfires, heat waves, and I think to the extent people turn off their electricity because it's so hot and there's a risk of electrical fire. And this could be like in North Carolina, Spain, Greece, possibly Italy, UK. You're going to get odd days and then a sudden shift. If you remember, I've been seeing this yellow foam for quite some time, and I do think that there could be a temple being burned. I do think that there is a building or something in the US that could have some issue with it, that could pose kind of yellow foam or smoke. There is going to be a leader, a CEO that could come out in a scandal, in a news. But what I want to say, if you are a leader or a CEO, play it down right now. Just be safe, play it down, no ego, okay? There is airplane issues, and I mentioned in the last reading, there is definitely for Duck or someone in his cabinet now in the next months. In the very least, just troubles with like I book a flight, there's a delay, etc. So there's that kind of energy. A real push for digital currency is happening, will happen. Remember I mentioned about early last year, possibly the year prior at the end, about digital wallets and the UK really pushing this. I think there's going to be protests coming up. AI will pose good news, breakthroughs, and it will continue over the next sort of 9 years as well. So what I'm going to do is I am going to leave the rest for the next one. Okay, please check out the previous ones as well. But that's what I have for you right now. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please do give it a like, subscribe, and I look forward to your comments. Stay blessed, everyone, and bye for now.